Good day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at how you can do a run completing all 5 objectives of Stormwind during the Revisited Horrific Corruption event, and basically, to cut a long story short, how you can complete all 5 objectives in one run on the first tier of upgrades, as well as with no tributes. So there's no masks, no tributes, we only have the first tier of upgrades. My character has 655 gear, his full set bonus, and has the lesser enchant, so that is important to take note of. Please be aware that depending on the week you take on the event, you will have a different set of madness every single time you take on the event. You have the first tier of madness, which will apply in the main areas in between the different zones, including when you fight Alleria. That's at the top. You then have the second rank of madnesses, which incorporates the 2 smaller areas, and then the third one, which incorporates the larger areas. Now, when starting your run, you will enter the Cathedral. You will have to take on the first pack, but try to avoid as many mobs here as possible. The only real mobs that you should take on are ones you need to get information that you need for the rest of the run. So, for example, here you'll see I'm taking on this mob. This is imperative because I want to see what potion is good and bad for the run. You can see here, purple is for this run, so I know that this run I should not pick up purple potions, as this will cause me problems. Then head over to the 2 guards outside the Cathedral, defeat them, enter the Cathedral, and run back out. This will start the RP for Alleria. It saves you a couple seconds, but it's not major. Then head to the east, run past the pack of mobs and enter the Dwarven District. Here you'll want to obviously complete your explosives. If the room is open, you see that little kind of pickaxe sign. If the door is open, you can enter there, avoid the mines, head to the 2nd floor and pick up a buff, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Here it's important to be careful with your mob pack pulls. These mobs can pack a punch, and especially the Forge Guard is one you want to be able to see clearly. So picking him up surrounded by a bunch of mobs is not really something you're going to want to do if you can't keep track of him. Be aware of his leap. You will see a purple swirl on the ground. If hit by it, you'll lose 30 sanity as well as take a ton of damage. Other than that, there's not anything too crazy. A lot of the Void Walkers, or Will Breakers as they're called here, are surrounded by archers. I highly suggest you pull them and then run around the corner. This will enable you to break line of sight and make them easier to take out. Once you've finished all the explosives, head forward, hit the button, and then run directly straight. The boss will throw a set of barrels directly over to where you were, but you can avoid them. Theorem is pretty straightforward. Avoid the bombs he throws on the ground. He will then charge up a conal breath attack, which you need to keep an eye out for. If hit by it, you'll start to take a lot of sanity damage and a lot of damage in general. But other than that, he's very straightforward. His moves are quite easy to avoid, so you don't have to panic too much. From there, head north into Old Town. This is going to be the second hardest objective that you'll be doing during the course of the day, depending on which class you are. Here, it's important to focus the mobs carefully. You don't want to take unnecessary damage, and especially if the Leaden Foot Madness effect is in play, you don't want to leave mob packs alive, as this is going to slow you down. The very first boss on the right will have some high damaging moves, so make sure to avoid the swirls and his conal attack. Then head down the left hand side, literally just going straight down. Again, if the buildings are open, you can go inside and grab a buff, but this is debatable as to whether your speed is enough without it. I did all of this without a companion, so it's important to understand that you don't need the companion, but she can help. Or if you're playing with friends, obviously they can fulfill different roles. The boss that you fight in the middle, Askalov, is pretty easy to take out. He only has one move you need to avoid, which creates purple swirls on the ground. When you are trying to break into Matthias Shaw's cage, be aware of where the NPC is going, because they will actually open one of them for you, so you can keep track and let them open the other one. Matthias Shaw is pretty difficult. The biggest difficulty with him, and it's one of the moves that causes players the most irritation, is the Chaos Eyes. Now how they work is you basically can't face them when you are attacking. They will deal a huge amount of sanity loss to you, and he spawns progressively more. The easiest way to do this is literally just to move consistently away from them, but constantly moving in the opposite direction to them. So just continuously run away from them. Matthias Shaw will follow you, and then when they spawn to you, turn around and start attacking them, so that you're not in their line of sight. Once you've done that, take the teleporter back to the Cathedral, and it's time to enter into the Trade District. Now the Trade District is a step down in objective difficulty, and this one is fairly simple. Move to the left immediately and just clear out all the enemies along the way. You'll grab the pack on the right near the end when you run through to the final objective in the Mage District. Here there's nothing too crazy. Try to burst down the burrowing appendages, as when they go underground they can waste valuable seconds while you wait for them to come back up. The first enemy you face is the Dark Inquisitor, and you just need to interrupt his spell called Agonizing Torment. That's really about it. After he's defeated, move to the center of the Trade District. If the bank is open, you can enter it inside and take a buff, which will enable you to get a nice big tasty damage boost, moving on to the final boss of the area. Now, Slave Master Uruk is pretty straightforward. You need to make sure that when he casts his chains of servitude, thank you very much, that you run away. The reason being is if he pulls you in too close, you'll be stunned and take massive sanity damage. He does spawn them at 80 and 30%, so if you're bursting him down, you might have to take 2 instances of it quite quickly in a row, so just be aware of that. Once you've done that, you can just easily clear out the remaining prisoners from their cages, and things will be fairly simple. At this point, things should be going okay. Ideally, you want to have 2 sanity orbs available still, and then you know that you're pretty much on the right track. You should hopefully be at about half bar sanity once you finish the final prisoners, which will let you get a head start onto the next area. Now, the next area can be very difficult for some classes, and some modifiers can make it even more unbearable. The biggest problem with the next area is that it requires you to move swiftly through the locations, picking up objectives along the way. If you do leave the district and you see the toy tinkerer walking by, remember to only face him if you can separate him from his toys, as he gets a massive damage reduction and you can end up spending like 4 or 5 minutes fighting him for no reason. Should you manage to beat him, however, you will get some sanity back, so if you can make it quick and easy, grab him along the way. Once you've entered the Mage Quarter, this is where things get intense. My ideal pathway is to head completely right off the beginning. Head right, and then as you pass these kind of corrupted tumors, you'll find these burrowing appendages by these red flags. Go just past them, down the left, you will find the first mage portal. Now, I like to pick the mage portals up along the way. Some players do not like doing that. They like to head straight and beeline to Zardeth, because he spawns the corrupted minions who will potentially slow you down. This is going to depend on you and your class. For me, picking up the portals along the way was fairly simple, as I could jump back into my run fairly easily, but I do understand that some classes will struggle. Carry on along the right, and just before Zardeth on the left again, you will find another portal. This one definitely can be left for after Zardeth, due to the fact that it's literally right there and only requires you to double back a small amount to actually get it. But I still personally like to pick it up along the way. It's just how I am. Zardeth is someone you just need to worry about a little bit. He has a Chaos Breath and he does cast a Purple Skies attack. Just be aware that he also will potentially cast little minions who will spawn and cause a fair chunk of damage to you as well, which you do kind of want to avoid a lot. Once you defeated Zardeth, you will then move down, literally directly down the pathway from him, and this will take you to the center of the Mage Quarter. There will be 2 more portals here, both on the right hand side, but your main concern here will be the Boundless Corruption. This enemy is pretty annoying for 2 reasons. Firstly, he has another Conal Breath attack, which they seem to love in this damn thing. So he has another Conal Breath attack, which you do have to deal with. That can drain quite a bit of sanity if you get hit by it, but also, as you can see, he spawns these purple orbs out his back, and these are very irritating. They flood the map, and you need to make sure that you get rid of them to make your life a lot easier. Once you've taken out the Boundless Corruption, you can take out the final portal, and then it's heading up the Mage Tower to take on the final boss, Magister Umbric. Now, Magister Umbric is a bit of a difficult fight depending on your class. If your bar is fairly full, if you've managed to pick up potions, you can take him on if your bar is over half, but don't underestimate him. Rather, especially if you're a melee class that has minimal mobility, consider really filling up your bar before him. It's just because he can do very annoying things. He polymorphs you, which you'll want to interrupt. He also does Entropic Missile, which you'll want to interrupt. And for some classes, interrupts come few and far between. So your best bet is to nuke him down in between and give him big damage, causing him to kind of double spawn into these frozen attack movements. But this can cause you issues as well, because ultimately you have to get past the frozen throws that he spawns on the ground, the icy bolts, and those can hit you for sanity as well. So it's a fight that sometimes takes a bit of practice, and once you get used to it, it's a lot easier, but it can give you some problems. Now, ideally before Alleria, you have a full orb, or you at least have 70% of your bar. This generally means you're in a pretty good space. Now, Alleria gets tougher for every boss that you've defeated, and since we've defeated all of them, she'll have multiple additional moves, which are all mini variations of what we've seen so far. Try to spawn the orb and wait as long as you can to see if you can pick up a boost from your Tainted Area Madness. Now, there's a couple things here that are difficult. Darkened Sky is her main ability that she'll spawn alongside her barrels. Try to position yourself around pillars to navigate not only the Chaos Eyes, so as you can see, the Chaos Eyes will follow you. And what I like to do is I like to immediately move to the other side. So you'll see I immediately move to the other side when the Chaos Eye spawns. This allows me to fight her, and then yes, the eye will spawn behind me, but I can easily just move to the other side and get her to follow me, and I always get these brief seconds to kind of continuously fight her, which is great. So the eye follows me, she's now on the other side of the pillar, and bam, can take her out. Explosive barrels are pretty easy, just avoid them in general. Her Void Eruption ability is also fairly easy to dodge. All you have to do is stay behind the pillar, except for when you move out too early like me and take unnecessary damage, but that's okay. Then, other than that, chains you avoid as normal. You can use the pillars to kind of block you if you're getting pulled, and then polymorph you just need to essentially interrupt. Honestly, the fight is not too bad, although the first time you take it on, it can feel very messy. The key is not to panic. So if you start getting hit by the orb, don't start to panic and start just moving around and getting hit by everything. Focus on avoiding what's on the floor, and then just use the pillars to try and move that Chaos Eye around and navigate the boss. Once you take a little bit of time to avoid what's on the floor and get the pillars to move around, then generally speaking, or at least, I would say generally speaking, you tend to have a pretty good time. So I don't think it's too difficult from that aspect, although I do understand some players may fail their first attempt, depending on what class you are. Once you have finished that, you will unlock your first mask, and you can now start to look at completing mask runs, which is, I guess, fun, but also incredibly painful. But that is it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, and if this helped you, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one. So until then, as always, take care, stay safe, and thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Bye.